Perfect. Do you want to start?
Yeah, just pull up thing. All right, so we're going to start off just by introducing ourselves, and then we'll start talking about pair programming and what you guys can do to make it useful for your team dev project. My name is Dan. In the chat room, you might see me as Ziggy Sauce. Go ahead.
I'm Oliver. My username is Oliver.
So we were in Chingu for the last cohort. I've done it a couple times, and we've been experienced with pair programming. We did it during our last voyage, and so we're going to kind of just tell you guys like what it is if you've never done it, also how it'll help you during your projects this time around, and or if you want to just do it with anybody else outside of Chingu, because it's a pretty beneficial thing and a good skill to have in your future dev project. Cool.
Yeah.
So, all right, so to get started, for pair programming, essentially what it is when you have a partner and you guys connect either online, remotely, or even in person, however you want to do it. And what you'll do is you guys will be working on the same code base and essentially taking your times and combining it to create the product and make it more efficient, make it faster, troubleshoot it, and then work with each other to solve problems instead of having to do it on your own. Some of the popular software that people use, at least that we're accustomed to, is having the same text editors. So for instance, I use Microsoft Visual Studio Code. I believe all of you use it as well, right?
Yeah.
And it has a really cool feature called the live share, which you can connect your text editor directly with another user, and then you guys can both like type on the same screen and everything, and it's pretty cool. But if you use other text editors like Atom or Sublime, they also have their own version of like a live share where you can share the screen and both type on the same text editor. And then if you guys don't do that necessarily, there's also other platforms for like video chatting and voice chatting so that you guys can communicate directly while also coding at the same time. And for instance, we use Discord, or you can use Slack chat, you can use Google Hangouts, things like that. Do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, so VS Code live share just went live publicly. So the way we used it is we got the beta, and that's how we were able to use it. But they recently just went public, so if you don't have that yet, make sure to download that. It's really awesome. Aside from the technologies that Dan was talking about, TeamViewer is also really good. And my personal favorite, I think the same for Dan, was with VS Code. That's the most streamlined one that you're going to find. I've also tried Fluvids. That's a plugin for Sublime, or extension, sorry. And that was okay, but it had its problems. I definitely recommend VS Code if
VS Code Live Share is pretty awesome. So
yeah.
I would also highly recommend doing that over the other things. But if you don't use VS Code, it's completely fine. You can still do it otherwise. A note on what he said about TeamViewer: if you're using an application like that, where it basically lets you share their entire like computer, just make sure that you guys are respectful and mindful of being, I guess, the driver of someone else's computer. You don't want to go looking through their stuff or do anything. That always ask for permission if you want to open up like their browser or anything like that. And by all means, just as long as you're respectful and very transparent, open to your partner about what you'll be doing while you're programming, so they don't have to worry about you accidentally doing something wrong on their computer. But otherwise, another reason why we recommend VS Code Live Share is because you're basically just sharing your text editor. So the only control that they have is in your code. And then you guys don't have to worry about risking any sort of issues happening there. But with that, at least I, in the past, have found success when using live share, also in combination with Discord or any other, like if you guys use Google Hangout or whatever, it doesn't matter. But something that has the option to do voice chat, that way you can kind of talk it out while you're using the text editor. If you don't want to use any sort of video chat service or even like a text chat service and you just want to type, that's completely fine too. Just this past week, I did like a pseudo pair programming session with a buddy of mine, and we weren't in video or voice chat. Instead, I was just in his text editor typing notes like as comments, and he would just read them and then work off of that. And we were able to successfully troubleshoot all the issues. So that's also an option too if you aren't like familiar, or if you don't want to have, you know, your face broadcasted or your voice heard or anything like that. Whatever is comfortable for you guys, as long as you and your partner communicate about it ahead of time, then it shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, so Chance recently should have given everyone their program partners, their program partners. If you sign up on the Google Doc with the option to do that, then show them that to you already. And if you haven't tried it yet, number's right, you can do it next week, do it this week, do it whenever you have some time. I was peer programming with a Chingu member, and we're both busy this weekend, so I'll be in Instagram. projects as well. So,
cool. Let's go down a little bit. All right, so we're just going to kind of talk a little bit about how we've done it in the past. So in the past voyage, we were actually on the same team. So we got blessed living close enough to each other where we could pair program in person, but also online. And one of the times that we did do it, we were creating a simple page for our application, and we just wanted to bang it out one night. So the way that we pair program is we connected on Microsoft Visual Studio Code, and we opened up a live share session. And then we would just take turns. One person would be the driver, one person would be the passenger. And essentially what that means is that one person will be coding and I was coding out like the HTML for it. And then I had questions for styling. The passenger then, which Oliver at the time was, would just look up these things. So we were using CSS grids and I'd never used it before. And so Oliver would just look up, oh, for CSS grids, you need to do X, Y, and Z in order for it to work. And then as the driver, I would implement that and then make sure it worked and stuff like that. And then after, I don't know, like 20 or 30 minutes or so, you can kind of establish those time periods of however long you want to work. We would just switch. So then in that case, Oliver would become the driver and I would become the passenger. He would be doing most of the coding and then I would be assisting. Usually as a driver, you want to just like kind of focus on the coding and making sure that what you're doing works and kind of make, like testing it out. And then as the passenger, what I like to do is at least in a separate browser, I'll have like the MDN docs open, Stack Overflow, Google, stuff like that, so that I can quickly research the questions that the other person has when we're coding out so that we don't have any issues along the way and we can basically speed up the process. So there's a lot of benefits to programming, which we'll get to in a minute, but that's usually how I like to do it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also think it's a little easier if you're able to ask questions instead of directly telling them more on or what you could be doing. Because then that way you get to think about it a little bit more and they can learn more that way. Also, I just read you guys weren't able to hear me as clearly, so sorry about that. If you guys have any other questions or you were needing to say something again, just let me know. I will try to do a better job about that.
So now we can talk about the benefits, I guess, for pair programming. One of the biggest benefits is collaboration, teamwork. Before I ever did any pair programming, I was learning completely on my own, Googling everything, just figuring out on my own. And it's fine, you can do it, but it takes longer. When you pair program, it excels that process tenfold, essentially. Just having another mind there, thinking different thoughts, assisting you, being able to answer the questions that you might not have the answers to right away, and just speeding up that process in general is super, super, super beneficial. And it adds to that teamwork effect that you'll have when you're pair programming. And on top of all that, it also gives you a little bit of soft skills because you learn to communicate with another individual, whether it's in person or just through voice chat or even through text chat. It helps you kind of articulate your words and how you want to ask questions so that in a professional setting, you're not just like word vomiting and like, oh, I don't know how to do this. No, you want to like kind of focus on your questions and focus on how you want to ask it and the best way to go about it so that your pair programming partner can answer it for you.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. I know for a fact that when I'm programming, I'm in my room by myself, so I don't have to really think about articulating things too much. And so being able to have that partner, having to explain to them how or what you're trying to do, that's a big help, especially when you're going to be going into interviews, if you're looking for a front-end job or a back-end job or whatever. Because then you have to be telling them, okay, this is what I'm going to be trying to do, and then do it, right? And if you can't let them know what you're trying to do, then they're going to think either one, you don't know what you're doing, you're just kind of thinking, or you got stuck, or they're also going to think that maybe they assume that you go the wrong direction with it. And so yeah, it's definitely a good thing to articulate that really well. Another thing that is useful for is combating imposter syndrome. So if you feel like you don't know anything, as I'm sure everyone does, or you don't know enough, everyone's better than you. I know I feel that all the time. I'm sure
always. Well, yeah. I always feel like an imposter.
When you guys do their programming session with other people, and you can quickly see how it's not just you, it's like they also have their doubts, they're also struggling. And no one's perfect, no one memorizes everything. Everyone uses MDM. I've talked to developers who have been in the industry for like 4 plus 5, 6 years, and they're also always constantly looking at MDM, Stack Overflow.
Yeah. Googling for help and answers is a skill in itself, and through pair programming, it's also another skill. So you'll learn a lot of value from that alone. So definitely, when you're pair programming, don't be afraid to ask questions. Open up to your partner and try to pick their brain and get as much out of them as you can, because it's basically another resource for learning. And on top of that, to jump off of also what Oliver said earlier about communicating and articulating your words as well, for interview settings. This is very good to, when you're pair programming, to openly talk about your process as well. I definitely know that if you are interviewing or going through that process anytime soon, when you do like whiteboarding problems and stuff like that, they're going to want to hear you talk, and you definitely don't want to be just silently thinking in your head and starting to code and write out everything. What you want to do is articulate your words, show that you have a thought process, and then voice it out to them so that they can clearly follow your steps. It's the same thing with pair programming. You want to tell your partner exactly what you're doing and your thought process for it. That way they can help assist you even better while you guys are doing your pair programming session. And then you want to talk about debugging.
Oh, yeah. Also, another thing that's good for is debugging. So I'm sure you all know, two heads are better than one in almost all situations. So if you're stuck on like what might be wrong with your code, what's breaking your code at the moment, even if your partner isn't as well versed into what you've been developing, you'll be able to quickly see like maybe there's a syntax there that you were overlooking, or missing semicolons. Exactly, yeah, that's a good point. Or something like that, and it's a lot easier and more efficient.
I think that's most of the benefits. So yeah, in general, pair programming is super beneficial. Like we said, you don't have to do video and voice chat with it. It definitely helps if you're comfortable with it. If not, it's not a big deal. But being able to just code and collaborate with another programmer is super helpful. Let's see. That's it.
Yeah.
All right. So really quick then right now, we're just going to kind of give you a live demo, I guess, of us doing a pair programming session. And then it'll be very quick. We're just going to build out like a super small app. And then after that, we're just going to open it up to Q&A. So if you guys have questions, I'm sure you guys are already typing them out, but we'll answer those shortly after.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share my screen. It's probably going to blow up on me again.
So we're both working from 2 laptops, so hopefully this doesn't crash. Or sorry, 1 laptop, so hopefully it doesn't crash. It's a lot. It's getting pretty hot right now.
All right, so hopefully you guys can see my screen right now. I'm using Visual Studio Code. This is what the editor looks like for those of you that aren't using it. Like I said, you can use it in, or you can use any other text editor. It doesn't necessarily matter which one you choose, but this is just our preference because of the live share option. Right now, Oliver is joining me in this session. Down here, you can see that right here. It shows that Oliver is currently editing index.js, so he's just in another file. But if he hops into HTML, you can see his name right here. And you can see where his cursor is, and it shows that he's in the same file as me. And see, now he's typing. And so he's on a completely different computer, as we mentioned, and this is just a cool way for both of us to type. So if I'm typing here, and then if he's typing somewhere else, he can subtract or delete that text, and you can both work on the same one. So one thing to note when pair programming on the same editor is communication is key. So if I'm typing here, we don't want him also typing there, otherwise it's just going to mess up the code. So let your partner know where you're typing or like what you're working on specifically, so that they don't just like hijack your code without you knowing. And then if something breaks along the way, like they added an extra code snippet, like an extra semicolon or something that broke it, and then you wouldn't have known if he was there or not. So just be very clear about that. All right, so really quick, we're just going to create a small like card with a modal that has like a message, and we're just going to show you how we do it for pair programming. So I'm going to start off as the driver, and
I'll be the
yeah, Oliver's going to be the passenger for this one. So basically right here, we have our simple like HTML boilerplate. What we're going to do is create a card for you. And so we're going to start off by making a really quick div. Inside of this div, we're going to have h1 tag. We're just going to call it Chingu pair programming.
And the whole time I'm going to have Google open as well. So
yeah. Cool. Okay, I got it. Sorry. So here is just some lorem ipsum. Oh well, I made an element. That's not what we want. Okay. And then after that.
So what are you currently trying to do then?
All right, so I'm gonna, see, I need to talk to that. So basically what I've done is created a div. It's just gonna be our card container. And so we're gonna have a header, a little bit of paragraph text, and then a button. Do you have access to the actual lorem ipsum? You can just replace that on your own if you'd like. And then I'll just get text to here. So we'll end up some time.
I'm trying to do another side.
Cool. All right, so basically, let's just get rid of the first one, so step one. Okay, so here we have a simple card. We already did pre-styling just so that it's a little bit easier to see. So I'll show you guys what that looks like in here. All right, so this is our file that we just created. We just have it in a standard web browser. I'm using Chrome right now, doesn't matter what you guys use. But here's our header that we created, our paragraph text, and then the button that we created that just says press it. So when you press it right now, nothing happens. All right. So what we want to do is just add some functionality to it, and that's what we're going to work on together. So we created this index.js file, and I'm just going to link it here really quick. Script tag. Cool. And then, Oliver, if you want to take over now, you can go ahead and get that started for us.
Okay. So first I'm going to call a class, or define a class, call a function on click. So first thing we want to do is we want to add an event listener to the button class. So let's see, I'm going to const button equals. Let's see, the button was a class, right?
I think I just created it as a. I don't think I added a class to it. So right now it's just a button.
Okay.
So what you can do is document.query selector, and then just select the element button. Since there's only one in here.
Next, I'm going to want to.
So now you're going to want to add that event
that
listener.
I defined with a button class.
Yep.
Then for that query, I'm going to add an event listener to that. So to button, add event listener, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And then just make sure that the listener that you select is going to be a quick one.
Okay. Then the function. All right. So what do I want to do? I guess I'd make an if-else statement.
So I guess right now what we want to do is we want to show a modal, like a flash system, either at the top or the bottom, or wherever, basically when we press it. So what we should do is I'm going to create a small span here really quick. Just going to hijack.
And you're in the index HTML file.
Yep, back in index, I'm just going to create a small span. And then I'm going to give it an ID of flash.
Okay.
That way you can target that specifically. And then I'll just put a little message, click the button again to hide. And then I'll just save that. And then let me actually move it outside of this div so that it's separate.
Why are you doing that?
This way, since we already have styling for our div, we're just going to want to have that flash message be completely separate. And actually, I'm going to give this div a class as well so that it matches our styling. And then we can have that be separate. So then right now, it should just look a little different. Okay, we just sent it the card, made it a little bit stylish. And right now, there's no span because we have it hidden. So what we're going to do is we're going to access it. But really quick, I'm just going to show you in my elements that it's actually there. Right here. Okay, so it's there, it has a display of none. If I get rid of that, you'll see it right here. And what we're going to do is basically make it so that when you press the button, it'll do that.
In case you're just joining us just now, then we already set up the CSS class beforehand.
Right.
We're just going to be playing with the JavaScript right now. So, all right, so I've already selected the button. Now, I guess I'd select the flash message as well.
Yep, so just remember I created a span, but I gave it an ID so that you can specify that ID specifically.
So, const flash. selector, and then you said it's flash.
Correct.
ID. So.
Yep. So I gave it ID flash.
Okay. Let's see. So now that I've done that, I want to finish the event listener, and I'm going to need to add else statement. Let's see.
Yep. So just remember that currently, right now, we have it styled to be display none. So since it's currently styled at display none, what you can do is have your if else statement check for what the display attribute for that specific span is, and then just change it to toggle it on button click.
Okay, so how do I check if it's being displayed? Currently has a display of none, correct?
Yeah, so,
okay.
So you already declared it up here. So basically what you're going to want to do is select it. So you can do flash, and then what we're going to want to look at is the styling of it. Since we already styled of it, you can go into the attributes.
It wouldn't be the flash.display, right? I think I have to put something else in there.
Yeah, that's correct. So between that, you're going to have to put styling, or just style is the word you're going to look for, because you're accessing the style attributes of the flash element that we've created. Cool.
And then if it's blocked, then I want to hide it, so I do.
Yep. So you'll.
None.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds right.
Yep. All right. And then if it's currently displaying none, I want to flip it to blocked. So let's do that as well. Okay. So that should work. Try it out, see if that works.
Okay. Let's save it. We'll go here and refresh it. Okay. So it looks like nothing is happening.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and dissect our code really quick to see what the problem is. So let's do a quick sanity check. Right now you have a button that you classified up here, which we've selected as the button. You've added an event listener, which is a click listener. And then you're checking to see if the style display is blocked. If it is, then change it to none. However, if it's not, then you're changing it back to block. So that does look correct. After looking at your code, we're just missing a semicolon here. So we'll throw that in there. And then the other thing, just to notify, we want to make sure that's paired up. So here we have our script tag, which connects the index.js file, which is here. So in theory, it should be connected. However, right now, we don't have this function being immediately invoked. And so what we want to do is wrap this whole function and then immediately call it. That way, it's fully accessible. So what you can do is just wrap it like this. And this is called an immediately invoked function. I think execution is what it is, IIFEs. And so what it does is it takes this function and then immediately calls it. And then inside, it'll select it, and then it'll have this event listener waiting for us. So if I save this, and if I just put a little console.log here and write connected, then when I refresh my HTML page, hopefully it should just show up. Yep, so it says connected here at index.js on line 2, which is exactly where we put it right here. And so now this button.add event listener should be triggered and it should work.
Oh, it's still not working.
Still not working.
Let's see.
So let's take another look. Do you have any idea what our issues might be?
Let me see. Oh, okay. So there's no semicolon here, so we need to do that for sure. I actually don't think we need a semicolon right there. Wait, that. Try saving and then refreshing the page.
So here, let's try adding a console log inside the button. We'll right click. That way we'll know if this event listener is actually getting triggered or not. All right, so when we press it, it's saying clicked.
So
it's definitely connected correctly. Let's take another look at our code. So is our logic correct here?
Must not be, but let's do it.
So we're taking a look at flash.style.display, right?
Yep.
And then flash is up here, selected.
Flash style. 129. Should work. Let's see if we probably have set up right here.
All right, yeah, so let's take a look.
Did you save the index.html?
Yeah, I believe so.
Nothing looks right to me.
So I'm actually realizing your issue now. So we both missed this, but essentially what we're looking at is an issue with these expressions here. So what you're doing is this first line, I just realized this too. You are checking that flash.style.display is equal to block, which is correct. But then when we're changing it, we want to set it to just be one equal because we're changing the expression of it.
That's right.
So go ahead and.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. See, this
one is live.
Both of us missed it, and we just have to dissect it and go through our code and make sure that the logic is correct.
Refreshing.
So we'll go ahead and give that a shot now. And there we go.
Yeah.
So that's a small, quick demo of how we pair program and how we kind of work through it together. And, you know, we basically made it as simple as possible, but it's, you know, anyone can miss anything at any time. And that's why you have another person there to kind of fix those issues for you and see stuff that you didn't see. So like at first glance, when we first coded, like Oliver was typing stuff out and he might have missed a semicolon here or there, which may or may not matter. And then when I was coding out, I might have missed something that Oliver caught. And that's like the true value that you get from pair programming, being able to work together and think of different things at different times. So I hope that was a helpful, quick little demo to show you guys, you know, functionality behind pair programming and why it's useful. As of right now, we can go ahead and open this up to some Q&A, and then I'll go ahead and hold that up really quick.
Okay, so let's see. How long do you normally pair program for? Doesn't matter. Do you want to go first?
Sure. So pair programming, you can essentially do it as long as you want. Just make sure that you're upfront about it with your partner first. So for instance, if you only have 2 hours to spare and you're like, hey, I'm available for the next 2 hours, can you pair program with me? Then just set that, respect their time limits. Like if they have to go after 2 hours, just know that, you know, they have to go, that's their limit. If you guys want to do it for longer, shorter, it doesn't matter. Pair programming time is as much as you want to make it. There's no set rule to how long you have to do it. In terms of switching from driver to passenger, like we mentioned before, that is also flexible. In the past, I've done it where we use like a Pomodoro time cycle and you do 25 minutes of driving and then you do 25 minutes of passenger, you just switch back and forth. But if you want to do like 15 minutes or 10 minutes, or at some point in time, if you want to code at the same time, just as long as you guys are clear and transparent about who's working on what, then you won't have too many issues with that.
In my experience, I've only done it up until maybe 4 or 5 hours, which was the longest time. I only did that for once. I don't think there's a limit either, but a point that should be made is if you're both not familiar with the project that you're working on or the code snippet, then it might be a good idea to both do some homework beforehand and research and learn a little bit about that before you go ahead and do it. I know I had a pair programming session where we are both learning MongoDB, and probably could have been a shorter session, maybe like an hour or 45 minutes if we had both looked up some stuff beforehand instead of just pair programming while we were both looking at stock, essentially. Yeah, that's that question.
Cool.
My pair programming partner and I have already agreed to clone a landing page. Would that be suitable for pair programming, or should we be more logic-based rather than layout?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to pair programming, you can decide to do anything you want. So if you and your partner have decided to create a landing page, then yeah, that's definitely suitable for pair programming. If you want, you guys can both work on that entirely through pair programming so that no one's ever coding fully on their own. and you could do it from scratch and then work throughout the whole process together from start to finish. And it doesn't necessarily have to be more logic-based than layout. So honestly, if you guys are just pair programming like very simple, like static HTML layouts, like that's fine. If you want to add styling later on and pair programming that, that's also fine. It's the reign of freedom is completely up to you guys on how you want to pair program and then how you want to execute that when you're actually doing it. And honestly, like when you're pair programming, a lot of the time, at least in my past experiences, we've also spent a lot of that time just like looking things up, looking at docs and just talking it out, making sure that it makes sense, and then going into the text editor and coding it all out. So however you guys feel is the most beneficial for you is what you guys can talk to with each other about first beforehand to make sure that you're on the same page before you start doing all that.
Yeah, another point that I think should be made is you could, in theory, do the whole project through pair programming, but the thing is, it's probably not going to happen because you both have to have the time to do it, and these projects are a big time commitment. So it's something to think about. You could try. It's definitely going to help because maybe the way you would have styled something is a little bit more complicated or doesn't scale to bigger apps or something. And then your partner might be like, oh, well, what if you do it this way? And then, you know, you can learn that way. So yeah, I think that's it's easy. I speak English as a second language and I'm not a confident English speaker. Can I still benefit from pair programming? I can write English all right though.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You don't have to necessarily speak the same language to pair program with someone because code is pretty universal for the most part. But like we mentioned earlier, you also don't have to video or even voice chat. You can just text chat. And if your English isn't that great, you can just articulate as best what thoughts you're trying to convey to your partner, and then they can do the same to you to try to get the pair programming session as efficient as possible. So when you're in the code editor, or if you're just texting on chat or Slack chat or anything like that, just tell them what you'll be working on. Be very, very upfront about it. Like, I want to work on this. Do you have experience with X, Y, and Z? I have experience with A, B, and C. And then you guys can both collaborate on what you want to work on and how to best accomplish those goals. In our past group, we had a speaker, or we had a member who spoke mostly Spanish. Fortunately, Oliver knows Spanish, so we were able to kind of mitigate that solution a little bit easier. But because her English wasn't as strong as ours, it was a lot of just working with her and making sure that she knew that we're aware of what we need to work on. As long as she's aware of what we need to work on and we're all on the same page, then when we pair programmed, there weren't too many issues due to the language barrier because we're still working on the same code base. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, so I speak two languages. I speak Spanish and English. I think because I speak two languages, it's a little harder to articulate sometimes because I'm constantly thinking of things I want to say in English in Spanish and then vice versa. So I apologize if that happened while trying to present to you guys. But yeah, I think it's definitely possible. And if anything, it's practice. So that's never a bad thing, especially because you're going to have to do that for interviews. Next question. Can you control what files you share on LiveShare? Yes. So you're only able to share a folder and anything in that folder. So all the subdirectories and all the files in that. If you don't specifically share the folder, then you're not going to be able to see anything else. You also can't see their terminal unless you specifically say, I want to share the terminal as well. The caveat with that, though, is they can't run the terminal. They can see it, but they can't do anything with it.
And there are different libraries and plugins you can use to manipulate that, which I've done in the past. But when you're doing that as well, the cool thing about LiveShare is if you guys are both working on different files and you want them to see what you're working on, in that little bottom left corner where I showed you that it showed that Oliver was inside of my terminal as a guest, you can click on that and then basically route them to wherever you're working on. And they can do the same thing. So if you're like, hey, I want to show you what I'm working on, you click on that and it basically routes them to exactly where you are. And you be like, this is what I did. And then they can go back to whatever file they were working on. So it's got a lot of cool features that you can explore on your own when you have the time. I don't know for sure if Sublime or Atom have those features specifically, but for Visual Studio Code, at least, you can just share like one folder at a time, and then they can see all the files, and you can split up where you are and navigate through them, and then just reroute them if you need to.
Yeah, so another thing you can do is if you're already live sharing and you decide you want to share another folder, then what you can do is bring that folder into a subdirectory or into the root directory of the file you're currently working on with them. Because as I said, if you don't already share the the entire folder with them, then they can't see it. So you need to either copy it into that folder or step out of the live share and restart another one with everything in the same directory.
All right, so this question, why you didn't use the default in your add event listener. So, so you can, it depends on how you're using it. So essentially, if you have like a form element, then you want it so that it doesn't bubble up your code. For our instance, we were just doing a really quick demo example. So we just wanted to show you how to connect it and basically the troubleshooting of having code. It's a technical question, and like when you're actually going into the code base, those are things that you can explore and questions you can ask your partner. So he could have asked me like, hey Dan, why didn't you add, e.prevent default or whatever? And like that's stuff that you guys should definitely be asking each other. That's a good question to have while you're pair programming.
Yeah, another thing too is we were trying to keep it as light as possible. We don't know what level everyone else is at, and we just figured small code snippet, something that's not too complicated to understand.
Yeah.
So that's why we did that. What is the one thing you would advise to never do in pair programming?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
So for me, at least, for pair programming, as a user, I would never want to either feel bad about asking a certain question, or I would never want to be put down. So, the golden rule, do to others what you want to be done to you, whatever. Basically, don't discourage your partner in any way. You guys are pair programming your partners for a reason. You want to help each other out. You want to encourage each other and support each other. And so you really shouldn't be afraid to ask questions. You shouldn't be afraid to try things out. What you shouldn't do, however, is like take full control. Don't let your partner do anything, stuff like that. You don't want to tell them like, hey, I'm doing this, so you can't do it. If there's something you're very passionate about and you want to work on it, then just let them know upfront, like, hey, I would like to work on this. And then, they should be okay with it. And then you can do that. But you don't want to essentially command others to do certain things because you don't want to take control. Pair programming is supposed to be equal. It's supposed to be a 50-50 balance, yin and yang and all that. So definitely don't come off that way. And if you don't, I guarantee you your partner won't make you feel that way either. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think pretty much that's everything on the head with that. Yeah, definitely be polite. And let them know what you're doing ahead of time. So if you're gonna go ahead and delete like a line or a semicolon because it was too much, like let them know, I think this was too much, I'm gonna delete this. Because maybe they had that there for a reason or something like that, You could also be wrong. No one's the master at that.
True.
Okay. Do you have any tips for trying pair programming for the first time? Just dive in, be as communicative as possible, and just be friendly. I think that's the basic thing.
Yeah, don't be, just from my tips for first timers, don't be afraid to like ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask like, hey, can I do this, or try stuff out. You'll learn the most from trying things out and experimenting, and then picking your partner's brain and figuring out how they work and stuff like that.
Yeah. Another thing is, I know when I first started, I sometimes still get this, is I get a little nervous and start like typing like I've never typed before. So I make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, it'll happen.
But you get used to it. So.
Yeah, and when you do it often, you become a lot more efficient.
Yep.
So.
It's just good practice.
Yeah.
Okay. Should I be at a certain level already to try pair programming?
No, you can pair program at any level, like beginner, intermediate, advanced, it doesn't matter. I'm pretty sure like professional developers pair program all the time. As a beginner, like if this is your first time coding or you just started learning how to code, then pair programming is super beneficial, and you should do it as early as you can because you'll accelerate your learning process just that much faster.
Yeah, I think if you're not at the same level, it's even more beneficial. More so for the person who's at a lower level, but also for the person who's at a higher level, just because then they have to practice articulating what you're trying to do and teaching this. To be able to teach, you have to have a really good understanding of things. And it's beneficial for the person at the lower level just because instead of going through the docs and trying to understand how things work at a technical level, you can see it in action with someone who's already knows how to do what they're doing. So yeah, it's not a bad idea to do it with someone who has a little bit more experience than you. But just definitely let them know ahead of time where you're at. Don't lie.
Don't lie.
Be honest about what level you're at, and it should be fine.
Yeah, it's a learning process. So the more advanced people will help by, I guess, strengthening their fundamentals, making sure that they can teach it and articulate it well to the partner. And then the ones with less experience will learn and benefit from the one who is more experienced, basically as a mentee in the process. Yeah.
Do you have any tips for someone who is curious about it but is shy?
Just just do it. I mean, if you're shy and like I said, you don't have to video chat, you don't have to text chat, or voice chat. I mean, even if you're just text chatting, it still works. It might not be as efficient, but that's as long as you're communicating one way or another, you should definitely give it a shot, because if you never do it, you're just going to regret never trying it. And when you do it, you're going to love that you did it, because you're going to get so much out of it.
Yeah. I don't think that's a problem. A lot of people are shy. Like, if anything, the other person might also be shy. You might both be really shy. Just be friendly and be open about that stuff, and I think it'll work out. It'll be a good experience no matter what. Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to add? I don't think we have any more questions.
Oh, cool. Let's see.
I don't think we talked much about the cons. There aren't many.
Okay, yeah. So we made a small list of talking points, and one of them was cons to pair programming, and there really aren't many. If you're shy, like I can get that, you know, you might be hesitant to try it, but I really strongly encourage you to try it, because there's a lot more benefits in doing it than there are from not doing it.
Mm-hmm. You'll definitely be more employable.
Yeah,
if you're
absolutely.
able to get over that, because I don't think, like, it doesn't matter how good you are. I don't think companies want someone who's a sole superstar and that kind of goes up to that. Like, they want you to be able to work in a team.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing.
And those soft skills are super important for a professional setting. An actual con that I have might be just that your computer gets hot. So mine is like pretty hot right now because I'm doing this live broadcast and also pair programming. But like that's minor. And so if you just limit how long you do it to say like an hour, 30 minutes, 2 hours, whatever you want, then it shouldn't be an issue. But that's not a real con. So it might be different for everybody. Some people might not have computers that can handle it. If that's the case, that's understandable. So just communicate with your partner and do the best that you can, so that you guys both are being as efficient as possible.
Yeah, but I think if that's the case, there's still ways you can do it. You can, like, for example, you could screen share and just watch them code and just ask them questions. That's still beneficial because you guys can still like see how things work in the process and ask questions. Yeah. Is there anything else we missed? Yeah, that's it. I'll see if anyone else has asked any questions.
Or the actual video.
Yeah. Do you guys sometimes struggle with responsive layouts, understanding units correctly, and knowing those patterns? Yeah, sometimes.
So that's more like a styling question, it sounds like, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess like just to be specific to that question, if you guys are working on apps as a team and you all come from different styling backgrounds, say one person really likes using Bootstrap, another one really likes using Material or Semantic, and then one person just likes writing styles on their own, completely custom. The best way to do that is to just communicate upfront about, you know, as a team, how do you want to go about that, and then talk about what sort of sizing units to use, and then you guys can do some research on which one's going to be best for your application and stuff like that. But communication is key, and like the whole point of this pair programming talk is to show you guys how important it is to communicate with your team. And while pair programming is mostly done with just 2 people, it's still important to communicate as a team entirely so that everyone's on the same page. And then when you do that, you'll run into less trouble and less problems along the way.
Yeah. I don't have anything else to add.
Cool.
All right. John Mollius says, do you know of any sites that you can find people to pair program with? I know there are sites for interview prep, which is kind of the same thing, just at a more professional setting.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are. I don't personally know of any. I don't use any anymore.
Yeah, I don't know of any sites specifically, but one thing that I have done in the past is like sometimes if you just go on Reddit and you go to like your area on Reddit, like some countries might ban Reddit, I don't know. So for those of you that don't have Reddit, I'm sorry, but for those of you that do, if you go to your location in Reddit, sometimes they have like a mentor-mentee program thing for coding, and you just say like, hey, I'm looking for a mentor to work on this. Or if you're a mentor, like, hey, I'm a skilled professional developer and I can do X, Y, and Z. Looking for, if you need help, whatever, just like message me or DM me or whatever. So those are options too. You can honestly just like kind of Google some different things here and there and find people. In Chingu alone, like if you go to the community chat, if you're just looking to, you know, do a pair programming session with like a random person, I'm sure you can find someone if they're on at the same time. Like, hey, I'm looking to do this. Would anybody be able to help? Something kind of like along those lines.
Yeah. Also, if you didn't sign up initially for the pair programming sessions, I'm sure if you hit chance up or one of the facilitators will we'll put you in contact with someone, or we'll set you up with another partner. So it's not too late. Yeah, but Chingu I think is good for that, because everyone's here to learn. Everyone has the same mindset. So yeah, definitely reach out if you don't have a partner yet. What tool is recommended for voice chat?
I would recommend Discord. The quality of Discord is pretty phenomenal compared to some of the others. If you don't have it, like the client application, you can just use it on the web, like the Discord web app. And so you can do it through that. If you don't want to use Discord, you can always use Google Hangouts, just use the chat version of that. I think honestly Slack actually has like a chat function, like a voice chat. I think you can call people like, and then other than that, yeah, you can just kind of explore other platforms to use for voice chat. But I would recommend, there's also Skype. Right? There's also Skype, but I would recommend Discord over all of them for voice chat. But it's also really good if you want to use it for video chat as well. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I also use Discord. I think we used Discord for the entirety of our project the last voice.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, we use it.
The quality is awesome. Make sure you have a mic. It's something that I didn't think about initially. I currently have a mic that's separate. It's a boom mic. Connect. I don't know if that's
Keep in mind, this isn't necessary to have this, but if you have a mic, it'll help with the voice clarity a lot more. If you don't, it's fine too, and it'll still work.
So yeah, that's my recommendation. Discord as well. Yeah. I think that was all the questions. If you guys have any questions, feel free to let us know right now. We have extra time, I think. That was it, right?
Yeah, just scrolling through.
So, okay, somebody said, can you please share the link for VS Code Live Share plugin? All you need to do is update your VS Code, and it should be there. Just make sure you go into, maybe you can show me what that is if you go into extensions.
I don't know where it is.
Go into the VS Code. So, okay, go into your extensions tab. Will they be able to see that?
No, that's just sort of. That's right.
Yeah.
No, they can't see it.
Okay,
sharing it.
Maybe if you share that. So we're going to share the screen real quick just to show you guys where you can find VS Code Live Share. For those of you who don't know what that is. Okay, so.
Okay, so in the terminal, I just went over to the extensions. And then what you said is just here.
Yeah, it should be just Live Share. Yes, Live Share.
Oh, whoops. This one?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. So if you just type in like Live Share or VS Live Share, this is what it's going to look like. You're going to want to install this, and then you'll be able to do collaborative sharing with another person. And down here, this is what I was talking about, where it shows you where the person is when you're communicating with them. So currently editing index.js. If you want to go there, you can click it, and it takes you directly there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so this is the one that you guys are want.
Yeah, headphones, earbuds definitely help with feedback. Yeah, you could. Sublime has its own plugin called Fluebits. I think that's the best one at the moment. I don't know about Atom. I haven't used Atom.
So Atom does have one. Can you open up that document? Let's scroll up. Okay, so yeah, Atom has an extension called Atom Pair. I've used it in the past. It essentially works almost the same way as Live Share, but
that use Atom, if you guys want to try that out, let me know like how it is. It does work the same way, so you should still be able to use it for pair programming.
Yeah, VS Code Live Share is just our personal favorite. Like I was saying, Sublime has Fluebits. I think there are a couple other extensions. I don't think they're as well maintained. And my experience with Fluebits was also the same as Dan's experience with Atom Pair. So, you know, try it out if you want. But those are our recommendations, anyways.
That's the questions.
Let's see. Yeah, so Jim Medlock says, it sounds silly, but make sure alarms and ringtones are off. Also put pets in another room. This is true. Yeah, during our, not even paper programming, but during our Discord talks with our teammates, There were a couple of times when someone was listening to the music a little too loud, or there was pets in the background, or someone's mom yelling.
Yeah.
So
one of the cool things that
mindful
you
of
can do, if you're on Discord at least, I'm sure maybe some other applications, but on Discord you can set your audio to click to talk. That way, the only time that they'll hear your voice is when you're clicking a certain button, so that you can mute out the rest of the background noise if you're in a loud space, or if you're in like a public setting while you're doing your chat.
yeah, well, I don't see any more questions. So if you guys have any that you think of later, definitely shoot me a message on Slack. I'm just what's the simple thing? Yeah, at Oliver. So.
Yeah, feel free to message me too. I'm Ziggy Sauce with the raccoon icon. It's easy to find me.
Raymond Cox says, remember the meeting someone was in the kitchen and their mom started using the blender. Yep, I do. Yeah, thank you guys. I hope you guys learned something. Oh, wait.
You got one more question?
Amandeep says, please show us how to use VS Live Share. Yeah, I guess we didn't do that. So you want to do that?
Like setting it up?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I'll do that. I don't know.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and do that. Give us a second.
Okay, so essentially here in your terminal, what you want to do is whoever is going to start the session, have your terminal open to the folder that you want to start sharing. So here I have it open to this directory. And then down in the bottom left corner, you have to make sure that you're signed in first. When you're signed in, you'll see your name down here.
That's signed into GitHub, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so then here, if you click your name, or even if you click share, whichever one you want to do, sharing will create a link for you, and then you can basically copy the link and then send it directly to whoever you want to get to. So right here, I'll just show you. It just basically makes this URL link, and then you can send it to the person in Slack or in Google Chat or Discord or whatever. And then when they click on the link, it'll look, I don't have it up right now, but basically it'll open up a browser.
I'll give it a show.
Yeah, here, maybe I can just do it. So it'll look kind of like this.
Yep.
And it'll just have joining collaborative session with, and then you just click on the link. And then when you click on the link, it'll directly open up a new text editor for you. And then it'll open up all of the files that your partner is working in.
So Dan's currently joining the session with himself.
So yeah, because I'm joining my own session, I don't know if it'll work, but here, whoever's the creator of it, you have to accept them. So down here, it'll say like, hey, this person wants to join. So just hit yes. And then down here, you'll see when they've joined or not. So right now, I've joined myself.
Another thing that we forgot to mention is my understanding is it's not limited to just 2 people. You could pair program with 3 or 4. I'm sure it'll slow down the process. It might be a little laggy. I haven't tried it with more than 2 people. Actually, no, scratch that. I haven't tried it with more than 3. But yeah, if you do want to pair program with 3 people, including yourself, or 4, give it a try. Hopefully it works out for you.
Yeah, I've also never done it with more than 1, but I think it's possible. I'm not sure.
It is possible.
Okay.
I think we did it once with you guys just to show you that it worked.
I don't remember.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, definitely try that out. It might be useful to do it with 3 people. It might be quicker too. I don't know. If anybody decides to do the entire project, the Voyage project, with just pair programming sessions, let us know. I think that'd be awesome. Don't know how feasible it is, but it'd be pretty cool. Yeah, so Mandeep says thanks. You're welcome.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you guys.
Again, if you just have any questions, feel free to message us on Slack, and hopefully we'll be able to answer those.
Yeah,
I encourage you all to do a pair programming session at some point during this voyage, even if it's not with your current group that you have. If you want to just reach out to another programmer that's online at the same time and you need some help or something like that, feel free to do it. It's a really good experience, so I really encourage you guys to do it.
I just posted our usernames on the chat in case you guys want to copy and paste those and send us a message or something. But other than that, thank you guys for joining us, and have a good day.
All right.
Bye.